by the money that they spent. Take another look and take some time for hemp. Don't cut trees for paper, 'cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. An acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, it's time for hemp.
Thank you for taking time for hemp. I am your host, Casper-Leitch. You are listening to Time for Hemp live all around the world on AmericanFreedomRadio.com and all across America on AM, FM stations. Tonight, we are going to be finally revealing who our surprise guest is. We've been talking about our mystery guest all month. But before I do that, I really have to stop and say hi to all my friends at the Homeland Security and DEA and FBI and remind you, you are losing this war on drugs. So you might find some other kind of job to do or start getting your funds reallocated to another project. If you want to get involved in ending the war on drugs, well, just wake up. Smell the coffee. But you can get on norml.org, normal.org, and find a chapter in your neck of the woods. On the program tonight, my joint host, one of my heroes, hardworking activist, great writer for a wonderful magazine called Skunked, Chad Nance. Chad, thank you for taking time for hemp.
No sweat, buddy. How's it going?
Oh, man, I tell you, it is hot and sizzling here in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Oh, dude, here down at the beach, we're waiting on a hurricane, man.
Oh, man, you're so lucky.
Good times, yeah. Hurricanes are fun. You got to love that storm swell and the riptide.
Oh, and then add to that the oil balls that might pop up here and there. It's really
Can't wait.
exciting.
I'm excited. I'm pumped about the petrochemicals on the beach. But, yeah, man, yeah. So we got that bearing down on us. How's it going, man? What?
Pretty fine. I understand you've been traveling around America checking things out. Anything you want to mention here in a minute or two?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I spent last weekend in D.C. with the, big, honky stock or Whitey Fest or Whitey Palooza or whatever that thing was that Glenn Beckinden through this weekend. It was great. I've never seen so many self-satisfied white people in my life.
White Expo.
Yeah, it was the White Expo. Yeah, it was like, Coachella with old white people. It was a good time. I think Christopher Hitchens called it one of the last. I think he called it a pitiful display of self-pity and one of the last gasp of the new minority that'll be around here in about 10 years, which is what I think they're really afraid of. They're afraid that once they become a racial minority, everybody's going to do to them what they've done to everybody else.
Well, it's those same set of people, too, that have gone out of the ways to keep this plant outlawed.
Oh, yeah, well, they do a lot of, and actually there at Glenn Beckfest, there was one guy, man, and he was on our side, and he was about 65 years old. He was from New York, and he was standing there completely outfitted in faux pot, regalia, long hair flowing out from under his hat, with a big old sign that said legalized pot right in the middle of it. And I asked him what he was doing there, and he said he just goes to any kind of demonstration. Anytime Americans gather in D.C., he goes down there to push his agenda of freeing the weed. So, interesting guy. There was at least one person there, at least one human being.
Sounds like our kind of people.
Well, he was good people. Yeah, he was good people.
We got to start rolling around and taking care of the budget here. We got to go pay the bills, and then when we come back, we're going to introduce everybody to our mystery guest. And Chad Nance and I are going to fire a big bowl up while we enjoy the commercials here at Time for Hemp. You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
Green Reaper, big fat Joe B, much sweeter. I don't hide it. I don't hide it. Well, I don't hide it. I don't hide it. Well, I don't hide it. Fire up right now.
Yeah, baby, fire up right now. Be loud, be proud, come out of the closet. Let everybody know that you are a marijuana smoker. Go down to your local bookstore and say, I want to see on the shelf my favorite magazine, SKUNK. Put it on there so my friends and I can buy it. Right, Chad Nance? Chad?
Yes, that's a good magazine. I read that stuff myself.
Did that take you off guard there?
Yeah, a little bit, man. Appreciate the plug, though. It was good stuff. That was exciting. And I wasn't.
Well, I love Skunk Magazine. That's why I made it a point to have him on the program tonight, because we're finally showing our hand tonight who our mystery guest is. Our mystery guest is now on the line. We've been talking about this individual all month long. Chad, I've made it a point to have you on the program because this person is running for Arizona governor. This person has been involved in the marijuana movement for a long time, is a former POW in this war on drugs, a remarkable musician, and somebody who has been recently active in planting marijuana plants up in Northern California, Arlin Troutt. Arlin, thank you for taking time for hemp.
Hi, Casper. Hi, Chad. How you guys doing?
Pretty good, pretty neat. How you doing, sir?
I'm fine. You hearing me okay?
I can hear him.
Great.
I hear you just fine.
Well, fine. What an introduction.
Well, it's nice to have you on the program. Now, how did you first get involved in the marijuana movement?
Oh, 1965 probably. It was probably the offspring of the protest against the Vietnam War, and that sort of evolved into the cannabis movement for a lot of people, but probably on the front lines of the cannabis movement. That's how I got involved first. 1965, 15 years old. My first encounters with cannabis with people that were coming back from Vietnam. They would have, like a little bag of Cambodian red or Thai weed or all the different Southeast Asian.
And where were you at that time? Were you down in Austin or down in Texas?
Was I?
Yes.
Yeah, I was Texas.
So you're down there kind of when Willie, guys like, Kinky Friedman and musicians and stuff, that whole scene down there, Waylon Jennings, those kind of folks.
Well, I lived on Willie's golf course for quite a while. I played golf with Kinky, Willie, and a whole bunch of those guys 10 years ago. They're all really nice guys and real funny guys.
Yeah, so you and Kinky, so you're running for office in Arizona, kind of like what Kinky's done in Texas?
Yeah, and it's really similar. What I'm trying to do over in Arizona is just get somebody to mention even the word marijuana. They don't seem to want, even though it's on the ballot, they're trying to forget that it's really there. It's the gigantic gorilla in the room. It's what's financing the war on the border. It's where the money is coming from, to support the drug war. So it's kind of odd that we can't get them to mention it. So I do commentaries of what I would do if I were governor. It's kind of evolved into that, into T-shirts and stuff, and we're really trying to get a dialogue going over there. Not that I expect to actually win the governorship of Arizona, but there seems to be a third voice that never gets told. I'd like to be able to at least bring the cannabis issue up, since it is on the ballot, and we've already voted for it twice and been ignored. I thought it would be really a good idea. So that's pretty much the extent of my run for governor in Arizona.
What kind of traction have you been able to get there? Because, if anybody is an outsider viewing Arizona right now, it looks like a teabag paradise. It looks like, nothing but far-right candidates and nothing but far-right issues from immigration to gay marriage are going to get discussed.
That's kind of like it's the big far-right, far-left traction. So I'll get an example. One example is just recently they have had a big article about the DUI fatalities in Arizona have plummeted to 50% the past 15 years. And they talk about the influence that MAD has, the influence of law enforcement techniques. But the fact is, down there on that border, the residents, really good cheap marijuana, and they simply choose to smoke marijuana over getting out drunk and wrecking their cars. So, but you have the alcoholism industry suffers. You've got the car crash industry that suffers. Some of these industries that are really based and developed over the catastrophes that have happened to us are suffering because of this. However, you can't get anyone to actually bring out some real statistics about cannabis users and the real driving statistics. Everything that you hear over there is slanted.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm not hearing is a discussion of Mexican drug cartels and the danger that Latinos pose to apparently the rest of the United States. I'm not hearing the discussion of what happens if we go ahead and legalize this thing and we take away the main money engine behind these cartels and behind these narco states.
Well,
I'm not hearing that in the conversation down there, and it seems like that'd be a no-brainer for at least talking about it.
Well, you just now have played into this game that's being played. These aren't drug cartels. These are desperate Mexicans, and they go to farms that have been producing cannabis for a year. It's not organized crime down there. They're just a bunch of desperate, displaced Latinos, and mostly displaced because they've been economically and physically displaced from this drug war that's raging in Central and South America. So they've been turned upside down over this drug war too. And then and the fear call that's going on down on the border that these terrible, sophisticated drug cartels, these are guys with donkeys and backpacks, for Christ's sake. If you want to talk about real drug cartels, you go and check the money that's going into Wachovia and some of the major banking institutions in the United States. If you want to talk about who the real drug cartels are, I hate to even mention some of the high-level brothers of the leaders of Mexico, their connection with high-level leaders of the United States. We really need to look at who the real drug cartel is in this thing, not blame a bunch of our Latino brothers and sisters that are down there in the most logical and basic things they can to survive. So I guess really I feel bad about the fact that we're calling our Mexican counterparts cartels. They're not rich. They don't have money. They just have backpacks and fuels. Yeah, it just seems like the whole conversation down there has turned racial and not really about the reality of it, and that's that the prohibition of drugs is what's created this massive market that's supposedly driving this stuff. It's a distraction, though. Yeah. You know, this is a distraction, trying to make the racial tension go up because you've got a lot of people that are unemployed and we're having really hard times economically in the United States. Plus, our streets have been turned into war zones with this drug war. So nobody does good in any war. Everybody suffers to some extent. We've had years and years of this war, and it's really taken its toll on us as a people to the point that we're actually looking out and trying to blame other races of other desperate people that are coming here for refuge. So there's a lot of ways to look at what's going on the border. The main thing that's going on the border is the same thing that's going on in the dispensaries in California. This stuff still costs $11,000 to $20,000 a kilo, and it's so expensive that people will kill for it, and they will steal and rob and lie and cheat for it, and it has society disrupted at large because of this problem. So we really start talking about what we're going to do to normalize our relationship with these other countries, start bringing cannabis down to it's affordable for everybody and is taken out of the realm of the criminal element, violence around it. We're not really talking about any real change with any of the laws and the propositions that's going on across the country. So Let's Hemp has some real specific ideas about how we would like to see all this come to an end and start normalizing. Absolutely. And so is that basically what your platform is there in Arizona, though, is that's the centerpiece, drug policy is the centerpiece of your campaign? Or what you're trying to at least get the conversation started? We have a really position, and anytime you talk about us or support us, it's this, and it's U.S. Hemp is the unconditional surrender of hemp. U.S. Hemp is talking about the unconditional end of the prohibition of marijuana the unconditional release of all marijuana prisoners. Then we'd like to see the unconditional end of the drug war follow that immediately behind that, because the cannabis issue is the most glaring, outrageous abuse process that's ever happened to the human race, if you look at it. I mean, we've had the amount of human suffering and pain, destruction, division that's taken place over these cannabis laws. It's unprecedented in human history. We really ought to take a real look at not just the death toll, but the toll of the broken families that have come across to this. Even in my own family, my mother and I are so politically split over this issue that we can barely speak about it. So this right into not only the borders and our streets, but right into our living rooms. So to really resolve this, no amount of propositions and splitting hairs on the cannabis issue is going to help. There has to be, basically, they lost this war, and we won this war. And that's one of the main things that needs to be addressed here. I need to have, one of my songs is called Line in the Sand. And I really think that we need to draw a line in the sand on this issue.
I played that song on my program a couple of times, and I want to encourage people to get your CD. They can go to your website and get your CD, can't they?
Yeah, they can. But and you know something else about that song? We've hit the Neil Young Living with War Today website. There's 3,300 protest bands on that site, and we were lucky enough a couple of weeks ago to hit #1. And I think we have 2 songs on there that's I think close to the top right now. So if you would support Neil Young's website, because only he would think of something about how to round that many anti-war musicians up in one place. And if would love to encourage everybody that's listening to you to go to that website and support all of the musicians that have drawn their line in the sand just to stop war generally. So we've got that.
Now you've rubbed shoulders with a lot of famous musicians that are also coming out in favor of legalization of marijuana openly now these days, aren't you?
Yeah, I've been. You know, one of the things actually I've been working on this U.S. Hemp's Independent Growers Association, because that's a major move. And has really kept me away from schmoozing or hitting any parties or concerts like that. I've literally been out in the middle of the woods talking to folks about the cottage industry, cannabis, and one of my biggest fears is seeing a cannabis industry that falls away from the cottage industry that's always existed underground and supported our brothers and sisters, even though it's been some hard knocks. We've all stood together, and there's quite a gigantic network across this nation. Not just this nation, but internationally. And so one of my fears about cannabis is, we could talk about some of the places I've been lately, is that cannabis becomes so homogenized and so normal that it turns into something like a Marlboro cigarette. And I'll give you an example. I was at the first Cannabis Cup in San Francisco, I don't know, a couple of months ago. And I remember San Francisco in 1970, we'd be sitting around the park and we'd be smoking Jamaicans, we'd be smoking Nepalese with the Nepalese, and we'd be smoking Colombian gold with Colombians, and it was all really distinct tastes and flavors and really unique spiritual effects. And I really, one of the things that I've noticed is there seems to be a lack of diversity in the cannabis already, and I'm afraid that by really industrializing this and monetizing the cannabis industry, so to speak, is going to really ruin some of the beautiful spiritual attributes of a plant that has just never ceased to amaze me, never ceased to end in the different varieties and attributes that it possesses. So just saying that alone, I hate to see all that in.
I know what you're saying too, because I love to draw on the first hit some very interesting strands like Northern Lights or skunk or like you said, Jamaica. Each has its own bouquet that really does hit your taste buds.
Yeah, it's a matter of taste, and it's also a matter of spiritual attributes. You know, there's a kind of cannabis for deep cycle pain that makes you stare at the refrigerator for 3 hours. There's also a cannabis, from southern Mexico at about 45 to 5,500 feet that makes you want to grab your kid and your fly rod and take him fishing and tell your boss to kiss your ass for the day. So there's all kinds of really neat, different kinds of that herb that comes from different regions. The higher up you go, it has its attributes. Down when you get down into the jungles and the swamps, it has certain attributes, and it is such a diverse plant, and it gives you so many different wonderful experiences, and feelings that I'd hate to see it just kind of mushed into one big thing with about 3 or 4 names,
Yeah, well, as somebody who's been covering this thing from Colorado to California and really watching the green rush in this kind of exactly what you're talking about, cannabis business and the rise of this stuff, what I see is almost exactly the opposite of what you're describing, or at least what would have to make what you're describing possible, which is collectivism, smaller collective of small growers, guys banding together. But what you see is this massive move toward, it's straight up, it's nothing but capitalism. I mean, the agrarian ideal and the spiritual ideals you're talking about just isn't there right now. These are hungry people.
My brother, and I'm going to tell you what.
I need to interrupt here right now because we got to deal with capitalism. We got to pay our bills. We got to do a commercial break, and then we're going to listen to some great music about how wonderful marijuana is. And then after that, we're going to come back and talk some more with joint hosts from Skunk Magazine, Chad Nance, and our new friend here, Arlin Troutt, here at Time for Hemp.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
I don't know about you, but when I cultivate my clones, I want to give each and every one the best chance to grow into a mature, healthy plant. But after a few cloning cycles, I experienced decreased root density, slimy stems, or even worse, no roots at all. Growers know that reusing cloning collars results in failed clones. And cleaning cloning collars between grow cycles requires extra work and decreases root density. That's why I use PermaClone. PermaClone collars have been engineered to prevent failed clones by providing heat-sterilizable collars, which fit easy clone, turbo clone, or power cloner systems. PermaClone collars can be dry heat sterilized, pressure cooked, or autoclaved to completely kill all bacteria and fungi without harsh chemicals. Start cloning with confidence today and visit us at permaclone.com. Put in the code T for hemp with your order and receive a 10% discount on your purchase.
Indigrow is your source for affordable induction grow lighting. First discovered in 1891 by Nikola Tesla, Indigrow lights deliver 11 years of electronic sunlight to your plants. Indigrow lamps require less than half the power of traditional HID lamps. Converting to Indigrow lights means you'll cut down on your power bill with less lighting. Indigrow lamps also use 5 times less mercury than traditional fluorescent or HID lamps, making Indigrow not only energy efficient but environmentally friendly as well. No more switching out lamps between vegetative and flowering stages. As nature intended, your lights get a steady dose of UV light. That makes your plants grow healthier and stronger. Indigo products are manufactured in San Diego, California, and come with a written 10-year warranty. What Tesla knew, then growers know now, is that Indigo lighting is the cost-effective addition to your victory garden. To learn more or order now, go to inda-grow.com. That's INDA-GRO.com. Or call 877-452-2244 to answer any of your questions. These guys really know lights. Indigo really is your sunlight in a box.
Have you ever had a problem with overcooking your cannabis oil? You probably wanted to rip your hair out when you burned off all the THC, right? I even cried one time when my brownies failed to make a good impression at the party. Well, I stopped crying when I found Magical Butter. Magical Butter is a device with a microprocessor-controlled program sequencer. It was designed by a scientist and a chemist to precisely extract the benefits of various herbs. Magical Butter easily makes botanical butter, oils, tinctures, lotions, sauces, and more. Magical Butter heats your oil and your herbs at the perfect temperature every time. Check us out at magicalbutter.com because it's magical. Okay, there's a lot of science and chemistry involved, but it sure works like magic.
Education and information. See what all the buzz is all about. It's time for hemp. It's time for hemp.
Woke up this morning with an hangover because from last night me under me water. Say what now? It got me feeling like the room was spinning around. That's the reason. If I was smoking the real thing, I would have been safe and sound. What do I need now? Good Cali weed. What do I need now, y'all? Give me the tree. Weed is nice. That's why me have to light up my chalice pipe. Weed is nice. Come on, places a day and places a night. Weed is nice. That's why me have to light up my chalice pipe. Weed is nice. Places a day and places a night. Early in the morning, it's high, man rise. Give thanks to the Father, to open my eyes. My scripts, my chalwa, I'll be there by my side. In the cool morning, is the birds and living life. Honda, my kiki, I'm feeling the vibe. For the rest of the day, that keep me alive. To be nice all the time is my joy and my pride. My good gun just with me push the top prescribe. I could live without my rum and I could live without my stout, but my strong ganja I could not live without. Ganja from the east, the west, the north and the south. Keep my chalice blazing along, my chalice never out. Some say the drugs are what them talking about. Make sure it's that them try you down a court out. Be about the money if you want come back out. Put the prosecutor and all the judge in your shout. Weed is nice. That's why me have to light up my chalice pipe. Weed is nice. Places a day and places a night. Weed is nice. That's why me have to light up my chalice pipe. Weed is nice. Places a day and places a night. I grade. That's all I need. All I need. I grade. See, all day. Don't want no cocaine. Rico mess up my brain. Take back your morphine. Won't stick me in the vein. No want your crack, I say. Cause me no he not die. No. Don't want to be walking while my belly is touching that mouth. Give me the weed now. Good Cali weed. Give me. What do I need now, y'all? Give me the tree. What do I need? I need. Give me the weed. Give me. Say give me the weed now, y'all. Good Cali weed. Weed is nice. Oh, no. light. Weed is life. Weed is life. That's why me have to light up my talent. Weed is life. Praise it today and praise it tonight.
Thank you for taking Time for Hemp. I'm your host, Casper-Leitch. You are listening to Time for Hemp live all around the world on AmericanFreedomRadio.com and all across America on AM, FM stations. American Freedom Radio is going to pull up its stakes and pitch its tent in a whole new state. If you want to help make that happen, you can go to the AmericanFreedomRadio.com website and hit the donate button. And you can also go to time4hemp.com and hit our donate button there if you like our programming. On the program tonight, my joint host, Chad Nance for Skunk Magazine, and our guest, Arlin Troutt. Gentlemen, thank you for taking Time for Hemp.
Thank you. Glad to be back. On the subject of donation, and also while we're on the subject with Chad and Skunk Magazine, people that really do try to promote the cannabis issues and get the right information out there. People that, in my prior complaint about the ridiculous price of cannabis and the crime that surrounds it, the people would just pitch in and donate to like people like Casper that have struggled to keep the show on, and a lot of the activists really do struggle just to keep the telephones and electric lights on, to keep that light bulb light on out there for everybody. Knowledge, peace, and love. You need to, and when the next time you buy that Skywalker or Romulan or some of those wonderfully named products from your dispensary, think about sending $10 to one of these guys, where we can maybe get the prices of cannabis down to where they're really affordable for people and get the crime off the streets that's surrounding cannabis and given a black eye. So on the subject of donations, please support Casper. Please support Skunk Magazine. Please support these people that go out there and give it all and struggle to keep their electricity and phone bills on, where they can keep us together. So enough about the donation.
And on this topic, too, let me say thank you to KDK Distributors up in Canada for giving us a grant each month and keeping us strong here economically. And as Arlin said, if you feel inclined, you can give us a grant. If you're not looking for advertising, you're just wanting to help keep the voice loud and clear, give us or Normal or some organization in your neck of the woods a monthly grant to help keep, as Arlin says, the voice of the marijuana movement strong. Arlin, now you've been raising the voice of the marijuana movement. I fell in love with your music before I even knew you, and we found out later that we were both at the event there in Texas, San Antonio, Texas, back in the early 90s. Yeah, together, and we've been at some of the same events. So it's odd that it took a long time for us to meet, as much as you've been doing in the marijuana movement.
Well, you know, when I really got vocal, and I pretty much came out of the closet, I came from the old school, I was a Vietnam War prepcaster. I was totally underground. I moved to Arizona and got sucked into the cannabis movement out there, just basically the industry that was going on, and those were all anti-war protesters originally. Not the hardcore Colombians or Central and South American gangsters that have moved into the market, but the real peace-loving, what they called hippies of the day, were the ones that were down there doing it. And really, that whole border movement started from war protesters, as I remember it. That's a long time ago.
It kind of spread out. You're right. But kind of around the same time, you have stuff happening up in Aspen, Colorado, places like Leadville, Colorado, which are becoming magnets for folks who are trying to get out of the urban environments, been protesting the Vietnam War, really needed a break, amongst other things. Wanted to get out in the cut and get kind of away from things.
I remember one of my old jokes was one of the few things I won was number 17 in the draft lottery.
And that's dubious at best. Well, then how does someone then from your background and you coming from the protest movements and as egalitarian as they were and as really, and kind of a bit like myself, as, you know, coming from the left and kind of coming a little bit from more of a socialist angle, deal with, and even the collectivist angle, how does it look to you guys when you do see these capitalists barreling at you in the weed industry, and they're young guys and they're young, hungry guys, and, you know, I see them coming out of Colorado and I see them in California, and they're rolling, you know, big money. It's no longer about, you know, getting your brothers and sisters. There's no more spirituality to it. It's about greenbacks. And these guys are serious, and they're the ones pushing legislation. They're the ones pushing lobbyists. I mean, you know, how does it feel to kind of look down the barrel of that out of something that has been a movement for so long and now it's becoming mercantile?
Well, one of the things I feel like a little relevant at some point, you know, and I've got 7 kids, and they're all really, really cool. They span from 39 on down to 20 years old. So I watch the way that they're affected by the commercialism of this thing, but they get it. Some of the kids are really caught up in the glitz, and like they're making it is really glamorous and stuff. There is there's a mass media market for it, but it's going to change. It's going to change what we have. It's going to change probably the personality of cannabis and what it does. So that's my, I guess, when you talk about capitalism, especially in America, it's like cancer. They're getting astounding information about using marijuana to treat cancer, that it actually kills cancer cells and flushes them out of your system and lubricates it. But then you've got industries that they actually form around the catastrophe itself. So it's cancer treatment industry. Now we're getting down to the cannabis industry, and it's kind of like the industries are being built around the cannabis catastrophe, the things that could really go bad and really turn it into, you know, something that's not desirable at all. And then, and to me, I guess, to basically come out with this as cannabis is always spiritual issue for me. When I really joined the movement is when I smoked it when I was 15. I had this nice, cool voice of clarity, voice of reason that came into my head. I think a lot of people are even embarrassed to admit why they actually do smoke cannabis and like cannabis. I've also ran into friends that simply didn't like it, and oddly enough, they all seem to have the same reason. It makes me think. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. That's bad stuff. That's dangerous. You go down there. It's a slippery slope to critical thinking and reason. You know, it's a tough way to go.
Now, Arlin, I gotta say this out loud. It's nothing personal, but it seems like almost all my friends are criminals. It seems like all my friends have records, past histories, dealing with being arrested and stuff. And you know, apparently, you are one of those people who's been arrested, tossed in jail, and POW. You are one of my new friends, and you are a former criminal.
I definitely am. Yes. And
you want to talk about that?
Well, sure we can. I started out. Well, if you want to go back to, I started out singing in a child quartet, Baptist quartet, on a tobacco.
4 minutes. I don't know how far back you want to go.
I'm going to bring us around really close. So I went from a really primitive backwoods Tennessee background to the draft situation, the POW situation, all the way into the cannabis, and then I spent a lot of years in the federal prison. And one of the reasons me and Casper didn't see very much of each other after the San Antonio Drug Summit is I really pissed George Bush off. And hell broke loose immediately after that. I was living on Willie's golf course, and you could write a book about what happened after that, but things got tense. And when we got back to, well, we'll talk about that on maybe a different time. But the bottom line is you got to really be prepared to risk your freedom and even your life for what you believe in. And I believe that cannabis, I've been morally and intellectually committed to the cannabis movement ever since I was 15 years old. That's kind of, and it does make me a criminal. It's unfortunate. It does make me a criminal. And I'm glad to have you for a friend, too.
Even though I don't have a record yet.
Yeah, I guess
There's still time, man. You're not that old yet. There's still time. They can lock you up.
I know.
we're crimies. Oh, yeah, there'll be something new.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's always going to be something, you know. And Arlin, just so you know, I grew up on a tobacco farm in North Carolina, and I think there's definitely something mindset-wise when you spend a few mornings looking down a row of tobacco, knowing you had to do it all day long, that can change your perspective on life and on working and on people. I think I can hear a lot of, it's like Johnny Cash used to say about playing the blues. You couldn't do it unless you'd pick cotton. I think there's certain things you don't understand unless you've done rural work and you've done hard labor like that.
Ironic that you would mention that and your background, because one of the big problems that everybody has out here is they don't understand how you cure tobacco. And they cut it off and they leave the chlorophyll in it because they dry it out too fast. Yeah. And so one of the things that we're doing out here is trying to educate people how to slow down and cure their cannabis the way you do it in North Carolina and Tennessee, just like you would tobacco. Because there's some real similarities.
I need to jump in here right now and let you know that I got to cure my budget problems by paying our bills here with a couple of commercials. But when we come back from doing that, we're going to talk about that and a whole lot more here at Time for Hemp.
Have you ever had a problem with overcooking your cannabis oil? You probably wanted to rip your hair out when you burned off all the THC, right? I even cried one time when my brownies failed to make a good impression at the party. Well, I stopped crying when I found Magical Butter. Magical Butter is a device with a microprocessor-controlled program sequencer. It was designed by a scientist and a chemist to precisely extract the benefits of various herbs. Magical Butter easily makes botanical butter, oils, tinctures, lotions, sauces, and more. Magical Butter heats your oil and your herbs at the perfect temperature every time. Check us out at magicalbutter.com because it's magical. Okay, there's a lot of science and chemistry involved, but it sure works like magic.
If you are in the Portland, Oregon area and are an OMMP cardholder, then come down to Nikki's Diggity Dank Market, Portland, Oregon's first and only weekly OMMP market, presented by the Alternative Wellness Center, located at 5241 Southeast 72nd Avenue, 2 blocks south of Foster Boulevard, close to public transportation, held every Sunday 10 a.m. till 7 p.m., connecting quality vendors with patients. Nikki's Diggity Dank Market also has a weekly raffle with products from every vendor, so come down to Nikki's Diggity Dank Market and have fun while connecting with quality vendors and getting great natural medicine. If you are a vendor and want a chance to connect with OMMP patients, you can check out their Facebook page at facebook.com/Alternative Wellness Center or call 971-888-4392. Be sure to register early because space is limited. Nikki's Diggity Dank Market.
I don't know about you, but when I cultivate my clones, I want to give each and every one the best chance to grow into a mature, healthy plant. But after a few cloning cycles, I experienced decreased root density, slimy stems, or even worse, no roots at all. Growers know that reusing cloning collars results in failed clones. And cleaning cloning collars between grow cycles requires extra work and decreases root density. That's why I use PermaClone. PermaClone collars have been engineered to prevent failed clones by providing heat-sterilizable collars, which fit easy clone, turbo clone, or power cloner systems. PermaClone collars can be dry heat sterilized, pressure cooked, or autoclaved to completely kill all bacteria and fungi without harsh chemicals. Start cloning with confidence today and visit us at permaclone.com. Put in the code T4Hemp with your order and receive a 10% discount on your purchase.
Headshot Canada. Based in Saskatchewan, Canada, it is shaking up the medical cannabis industry. Headshot Canada helps Canadian citizens in getting a medical marijuana license. They do this by filling out the paperwork. They also help explain your needs to your doctor and also help find the right strain for your condition. For this service, Headshot Canada charges a nominal fee of $100 and your participation in a research and development study to test the effectiveness of different cannabis strains on various medical conditions. Owner and founding farmer Tim Selinsky wants every Canadian to know that you have the universal right to a marijuana license. Unlike Compassion Clubs, Headshot Canada's goal is to get the right strain of cannabis for the ailment at a fair flat rate price for the patient no matter the strain. Headshot Canada offers 57 strains of cannabis grown at family-owned farms in Saskatchewan as opposed to Canadian federal government's one strain of irradiated garbage grown in a lab. Go to headshopcanada.com.
Free? Did you say free? Free hemp? Free hemp? Free hemp video and audio? Free downloads of all the top artists, all the pot artists on planet Earth. Interviews with all the people making the movement, making the hemp movement. It's time for hemp. That's right, world. It's time for hemp. That's right, world. It's time for hemp.
I wake and bake. I do whatever it takes to start my day, and then I get busy fighting this war on drugs. I want to give a big shout-out to my friends at Medical Cannabis Journal. Go to medicalcannabisjournal.net. We were supposed to run their ad this evening, but for some reason it did not get played, and we're going to make up for it on that. They are a big supporter of Time for Hemp, as you heard from our joint T-shirt ad that was ran, that you can also find at AmericanFreedomRadio.com by going to TimeForHemp.com. On the program today, we have my joint host, Chad Nance for Skunk Magazine, and our new friend at Time for Hemp, Arlin Troutt. Now, Arlin, before the program, you were telling me that you were planting marijuana up in Northern California with the same candor as if you were saying, I was collecting shells along the beach in Malibu.
Yeah, well, it's legal up there, and I was helping some friends get some plants to the ground that were potted and ready for the flowering cycle, and they had several people that went in collectively to get their to set up like a collective farm. So we do a lot of stuff just with independent growers and try to keep people informed and involved. That's another thing is we have a U.S. Hemp News bulletin that we put out. So if anybody wants to get our bulletins, go to ushemp.com and just ask to be put on. Give us the address and we'll put it on. It's really wonderful up there. There's nice, nice group of people. We went to the Seattle Hemp Fest, and then we drove back down and saw some of the folks in Humboldt at dispensary, and we stopped in for THC Inc. in Corning, California. Ken Prather and his wife, really nice, dedicated. So all these people, it's so much different. California over here, that paranoia, that bump and grind is gone. There's still a lot of revenue racketeers, I call them. They don't want to. They're addicted to the marijuana profits, and they just don't want to give them up. So that's they've got a new proposition every month. It seems like.
Chad, we've only got a couple of minutes. You might toss in another question.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, if he could just inform us as to a little bit about his race against Jan Brewer there, because she's a real rotten one. So she definitely would like to see how are you on as a writing candidate? Are you representing a particular party, or how are you doing that?
I'm strictly a write-in. Here's what I figure. If this is democracy and I've got 51% of the people that live in Arizona that support me, I'm the new governor. And we can prove that in a lot of different ways. So I'm looking at our democracy as a real democracy. Janet Brewer and Terry Goddard really drink from the same trough. I call them the cocktail party. And there's relatively no difference. They've all promoted themselves in their professions on the drug industry and the pain and suffering that comes with the legalization of marijuana.
So the Country Club Caucus.
They're the cocktail caucus. So we'll work well together, boys.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the whole mantra right now for the GOP and the Democrats, in a way, is this faux populism. This very much country club populism, where they're all claiming to be just one of the regular folks, while they're giving the regular folks the high hard one.
Oh, while we're on the subject of cocktail caucus, I've been developing a few things. One thing is I have a new line of pet meds that if you've got for your neurotic pet that has a hard time living without you in that apartment in Hollywood, when you're gone to work, you have something for that pet. And also, standard for treating pets is lower than being a caregiver for a human being. Now that we've established some of these miraculous benefits of cannabis, there's no sense that we should deprive our pets of those too. So
I had no idea there was medical marijuana for the animal kingdom.
The animal kingdom has always relied on self-medication until we started cutting the stuff up and making it illegal. They really can't afford $11,000 a pound either.
Well, there's a lot of kitty cats out there that have gotten that friendly exhale shotgun bump.
Yep, there's nothing to be said for keeping your pussies happy.
Excuse me, this is live, FCC rules, regulations.
We were discussing, domesticated cats.
But we are really skating it right there, okay? So anyway, we only got a couple more minutes, Arlin. If you want to give a big shout-out to any organization that you want the audience to pay attention to, or what URLs would you be giving out?
Well, see, of course, we like to stay in touch with you over the U.S. Hemp News Bulletin, so we'd like to get anybody that's on board with that. We always recommend that you read The Emperor Wears No Clothes, stay in touch with Jack Herod's family. JackHerod.com is one of the websites. His kids are from Portland. They're all wonderful kids. Read that book and keep that alive, because Jack Herod is the one that got a lot of people to take a look at this thing for real, and that book is really important. Sometimes it's overwhelming because there's so much information. But of course,
I would into the marijuana movement to run his office so that he could go out and promote that book. We got to say goodbye here, and Chad, I want to thank you for being a joint host tonight, and give all my love to all my friends at Skunks.
Anytime. It was very nice meeting you, Mr. Arlin.
Chad, it was a pleasure meeting you, and Casper for having me.
And remember, the next time you hear me, you'll know that it's time for hemp.
Some time for hemp. Don't cut trees for paper, 'cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yes, it's time for hemp. Whoa, an acre of hemp makes 20 bales of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, time for help! Yeah.
As I talked to the people from New York State, I realized the need for money to deal with this problem. I am glad that in this administration we have increased the amount of money for handling the problem of dangerous drugs sevenfold. It will be $600 million this year. More money will be needed in the future. I want to say, however, that despite our budget problems, to the extent money can help in meeting the problem of dangerous drugs, it will be available. This is one area where we cannot have budget cuts. because we must wage what I have called total war against public enemy number one in the United States, the problem of dangerous drugs.
And information see what all the buzz is all about. It's time for hemp. It's time for hemp.